All right, so after the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor last year, one dad sat down with his two young sons and nephew to talk about the importance of why Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, now he's written a children's book to really help other parents and their kids have the same conversation. Please welcome to the Fix It Morning News actor and author of The Ellises and The Time Machine, Why Do We Have to Say Black Lives Matter, Devale Ellis. Good morning to you, Devale.
Good morning. How you guys?
Doing well,
okay.
sir. Thank you. And, what was your inspiration for writing this book after that conversation with your own kids?
Well, realistically, it was just adding context to the history that my son was learning while he was in school. Black history is not considered American history throughout the curriculum in America. So my son was asking a lot of questions, and I felt a responsibility as a Black father to give him full context of why we have to say Black Lives Matter. And he asked the question, and he followed up with saying, doesn't everyone know that? And I was just like, wow, if he knew the history from slavery to black codes to redlining, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, he wouldn't ask me that question, and we wouldn't be asked that question either.
Right? Yeah, you had to sit down and have the talk with him, right, to explain all these things. So define to us what that talk was. What did it entail?
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that because of everything Black people have had to go through and being marginalized and disenfranchised since we've been in this country in 1619, many Black parents have to have this talk with their children about how to deal with authority figures, how to deal with the criminal justice system, how to deal with police, because our interactions aren't the same as our white counterparts. For example, there was a point in this country where we were considered property and 3/5 of a human being. Until this
See, most of the stuff that the brother is saying is based off of regurgitation, and most of it is erroneous. Because when it comes to the whole 3/5 narratives, it wasn't just talking about Black people, because it wasn't just Blacks that were slaves. It wasn't just Blacks that was enslaved around that time. It was whites also. It was other races as well. It wasn't just Blacks. They just try to paint that picture and highlight us so we can be stuck on that. Just like we stuck on quote unquote slavery and not the understanding of what took place before quote unquote slavery. And it wasn't just white on Black. It became white on Black around the time of imperialism. But slavery wasn't just white on Black. You know what I mean? And slavery was known as indentured servitude in regards to certain areas where it was just servitude. It wasn't, brutal or physical or anything of that nature. We also had whites in slavery. That's history that's before the whole narrative of us coming from Africa and all that bullshit. And that's the problem. The problem is our ignorance. We don't know anything. So therefore, we teach our kids shit that's based off of what the white man teaches us. When I say white man, I'm talking about the understanding of the indoctrination that comes from the school system, which is controlled by the Jews, the Zionists, the Jesuits, so on and so forth.
The same thing kind of, still kind of holds true. When you come across a police officer, they look at us and they fear us, or they worry that we're going to be more aggressive, not only just because of the Constitution and the laws in the Constitution, but because of mass media.
Well, let me say something. Part of what he's saying is valid in regards to how so-called police look at us, but that's not entirely true. As long as you conduct yourself in a certain way, a police ain't gonna say nothing to you, man. And with me, I can only, speak for myself when it comes to my interactions with police. I'm always respectful. I conduct myself accordingly in regards to just being upright. And the police, they don't give me no bullshit. There's been times where it could have got ugly based off of my interactions, but me as a man, I understand how to speak. I understand how to conduct myself according to how things are supposed to be. One time while I was a little younger, I was doing some stupid shit as far as with drugs or what have you. Not nothing crazy, but it was just a little slip up or what have you. I had got caught up with selling something to somebody, just some weed or whatever, and I didn't know that I was being basically set up by an informant who was a so-called Black man, and he was talking to the cops or what have you, and they offer him some money if he was to get somebody caught up. I got caught up, I got arrested for it, but I cooperated. I understood that I made that decision and I was wrong in that decision. I wasn't cantankerous. I wasn't wilding out. I wasn't rebellious. I understood that I made that decision. So, I handle myself accordingly throughout the whole process. You know what I mean? I never been in prison or anything like that, but I've been, in situations where I've been arrested for little petty shit, like hanging out in the hallways in the project buildings, stupid shit like that. But when it comes to just interactions with the police, you just have to conduct yourself accordingly in regards to just being upright, being calm. The first thing you want to do is be calm. You know what I mean? Because if you're cantankerous, 9 times out of 10, the police is going to be cantankerous. He going to wild out. You got to be calm. And as a man, like you shouldn't be, you shouldn't conjure up this whole fear mongering thing. You shouldn't be fearful of anything, especially no damn police. You just got to understand that, they have a job to do, and you just fall in line based off of you understanding that, you just walking in this world. You're not minding anybody's business. You're not fucking with nobody. You're just going about your day. As long as you go about your day and you keep your mind on the Heavenly Father, your faith, and you do right according to the Heavenly Father, none of this stuff is going to matter. The problem in this society is that this is a godless world for the most part. It's only but a remnant of people in regards to, God's people that understand how to move in this society accordingly when it comes to righteousness and so on and so forth. You still have other people who do, but I'm just talking about the nitty gritty of what the Most High stipulated. You feel what I'm saying? We don't have that. We don't have that baseline. We don't have that culture. And that's the confusion. That's why we fucked up in this society as so-called black people. We think that we should be conforming to these fucking ideologies of Black Lives Matter and this and that. This is not conducive for us. Aligning ourselves with Marxist factions, not even knowing it, because we don't know shit. We don't understand shit. We taught things based off of conventional wisdom and regurgitation. Like the brother's saying right here. And I'm not trying to disrespect his intellect or anything like that, but you could tell that his stuff, as far as his knowledge and his wisdom, is based off of conventional regurgitation type shit, what you're taught in the school system. He probably don't even understand things about the Byzantine Empire and shit like that. Or maybe he does, but he on the news, so he can't toe the line. It's just crazy, man. But this whole Black Lives Matter shit is not for us. It's never been for us. It's always been about promoting anarchy. They want to take away the patriarchy, take away the man. This dude is saying why Black Lives Matter, but you're the man. They want to take you out of the fucking picture, you idiot. That's how you know that our people, we just pawn, man. We don't know nothing. You go on the Black Lives Matter website, and I think they took it off, but it told you the outline of what they wanted. And the woman on Instagram, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, she said that we are trained Marxists. If people don't understand what Marxism is and communism is, I feel sorry for you. You need to fucking get your knowledge game up. If you align yourself with Black Lives Matter, knowing that it's a Marxist organization. Come on, man.
I grew up as a white individual, never had to have that conversation with my parents about.
I grew up as a white individual, and I've never had to have that conversation with my parents. This dude is mad fruity.
What it was like to interact with police. Did you have to have that talk when you were a teenager with your own parents? What did that go like? And did you use that as inspiration for your own kids?
Well, before you say something, it's important for all parents to teach their kids about, how to interact with police, because interacting with police is a universal thing. That's not something that's just congruent to black people. Like, everybody in this world has interacted with the police in some sort of fashion. Everybody. Whether you're in a neighborhood where something done happened and the police want to find out what happened by asking, the civilians of that neighborhood what's going on in regards to what may have taken place, or if you're speeding and you get pulled over, or if you're just walking to a store and, there's a fight and you get caught up in that fight, but for some reason and the police want to lock you up. Anyway, just thinking of anything. Just to make the point, everyone has had an interaction with the police. It's a universal thing. So if it's important for you as a father or as a mother, as a parent, to teach your kids how to interact with the police based off of general principles, not based off of fear or anything like that, but just GP, because you know that in some point in your life, you're going to have to interact with the police, But the problem is they want to propagate this bullshit about police brutality just being a black thing because they don't want us to understand the true, the true problems of our community, our so-called community. The true problem of our community is that we don't know who the fuck we are. If we knew who we were, if we knew who we are, if we was to know who we are according to the Heavenly Father, and come into that understanding, things would change and things would change for the better. But being that we don't know who we are, we clinging on to all these different ideologies and different forms of, bullshit propaganda. You feel what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it tells you in the scriptures that we are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So that's the number one problem. The number one problem is the lack of knowledge. And one of the main problems is also our women. Our women, they're off. They're fucking gone. There's no disrespect. And I'm not trying to disrespect the woman. But the so-called black woman, the liberal black woman is off. She's gone. It's at the point where I'm starting to like really be on some, I don't even want to talk to a black woman no more. Like, I don't want to get to know you. I don't want nothing, bro. It's getting to that kind of point. And I'm not saying just any black woman, I'm saying the liberal one, because their energy and their spirit is so toxic nowadays. It's insanity, bro. It's crazy. So that's the problem, man. The problem is we don't know who the fuck we are. Our women are fucking off as hell. We're under a matriarchy. We're not under a patriarchy. So the cycle of teaching your kid in the home, that's gone. It's a whole lot of problems other than fucking police brutality, especially when you understand the statistics behind police brutality in regards to, which race is the most affected by police brutality. It's not black people. It's actually white people. And it's been like that since 2017. But they want to constantly propagate bullshit towards our people because we're pawns. It's all about pawning you out. They want to pawn you out. They don't want you to understand who you are according to what the Most High stipulated for you. When you read that book, you open up the Bible, you start to learn about who you are according to the scriptures. You start to learn about how to move in this life, how to maneuver. You start to learn about the woman. You start to learn about this dictatorship, this society, things of that nature. You start to learn that this society is built off destruction and deception. And a part of that deception is the black man thinking that he just came from fucking slavery, not knowing his history on a mass scale, not knowing his history in regards to the 100% skinny. We don't know shit. And that's the problem. The problem is the ignorance. If we was to understand who we are, like I said, then things would change for the better. Until then, things are only going to get worse because of what's going on in this world according to the spirit of the Heavenly Father in regards to his prophecy. All right?
No, it was definitely inspiration. And I'll never forget the day it happened. It was actually watching the Rodney King beating. We were watching A Different World, and the Rodney King beating came on television, and I was about 8 years old. And my mom was like shocked. My father was shocked, and I was like, "What's happening?" Mm-hmm. And they were explaining to me, and I was excited to see that it was finally caught on camera because my mom was saying these are the things that black people have to go through in the community. So I was like, good, it's caught on camera. Now there will be consequences and repercussions. And then I was heartbroken months later when all 4 police officers were acquitted and there were no charges brought up against the police, not no charges, but they were acquitted of a crime. And I didn't understand why. And it was at that point my mom explained to me how things work in America and how they've been working. And it was pretty much the same exact situation. She explained to me about slavery and about black codes and about Jim Crow because my parents never wanted to teach hate. Mm-hmm. They never wanted me to.
And that's the problem. Just going back to him explaining how, his mom was teaching him the conventional things. Like he was explaining slavery. That's where he started at. He started at slavery. It's crazy, man. Like the most of our people don't even understand how we even got to Africa. Most of our people don't even understand, like, yo, listen, at the end of the day, bro, when you conform to this narrative that you just came from slavery, all you're doing is telling yourself that you conform to the history of the white man. You're not conforming to the history of the so-called black man. Because the white man's history is based in bullshit and telling you bullshit. When I say the white man's history, I'm talking about his dictatorship of the textbooks and, what goes into those textbooks. So you're conforming to the white man's narrative of what history is as opposed to the actuality. Because the white man's job is to keep your ass dumb, to keep you thinking that you ain't shit. And for them to keep their people thinking that they the shit by telling them lies too. Because the white man tells his people that they come from prominence and things of that nature. I remember when I was watching this documentary on the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, you know, the most ruthless white people in America, the most ruthless white people in prison and all that. And this white man was talking about how it's important for him to be partial to his own because of the understanding that when you're partial to your own, that goes into the preservation of your progeny, the preservation of your race. You subjugate other races for the power and for the improvement of your race. And he was also going into what was he saying? Damn, I'm trying to remember what he said because it's a great point. He basically was talking about how like when it comes to damn, it just slipped my mind. It'll come back to me. But basically, man, it's just the understanding of how it's important for you to be partial to your own. It's important for you to be partial to your own because that augments the strength in your race. That augments the strength between you and your people as far as your brother. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. So, you know, when it comes to that, that's what it's all about. Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to say. It came back to me about the deception aspect of it. The white man, you know, they really believe that they come from prominence. You know, when I was watching that documentary, the white man was like, oh, who do you think started civilization? Who do you think started electricity? Who do you think invented the TV? Who do you think invented the ironing board? Shit like that. Like who do you think started everything? And he said the white man. And I'm like, okay, that's based in his delusion because he was taught that by his people because his people are in rulership. Because we know that our people started all that shit, especially when it comes to the ancient times. We know that our people started all that shit. They try to say that Benjamin Franklin started the whole electricity baffle system. It wasn't Benjamin Franklin. That shit was started in ancient Kemet. You know what I mean? That shit was started during the times where we was in Egypt. And Moses had us, you know, free us. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and you don't even have to read the Bible to understand that. There's other, you know, historical books that, you know, outline inventions that were started by black people and so on and so forth. But because of the rulership of the white man, they cut off our history. Now you got to like dig deep in the crates to figure out what your history is about because the white man rules off of deception. So a part of his deception is what? Telling the so-called black man that Black Lives Matter and you should, you know, align yourself with this stuff. Not knowing that the Black Lives Matter movement is just basically a terrorist group. That's basically what it is. They align themselves with the Democratic Party because they fund them. Act Blue is a Democratic Party. If people understand what Act Blue is about, when you look at the Black Lives Matter website, they want to destroy the patriarchy, yet this dude is writing a fucking book on why it's important for you to say Black Lives Matter. When a part of their mission statement was to take away the fucking patriarchy, so-called black man, ignorant black man, not knowing nothing. And I speak like this because, you know, you get indignant by the fucking nonsense around in this world, man. You know, I'm trying to keep my composure and be more calm about these things. You know, I'm 28 years old, so I still got that fire in me. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I just hate all this shit, man. I hate all this stuff. But it's important for us to understand what we need to do, what we need to conform to as black men, so-called black men. And that's the Heavenly Father, the truth and sincerity. Not this bullshit, not this America. This shit is finished. It's a bunch of bullshit pervaded in this society, man. It just is. But I just wanted to get a little bit of this. I didn't want to get too much of this because he just basically going off and saying the same shit that he said in the beginning of the video. When you listen to it towards the end, he just basically saying the same shit. So it's important for us to understand what we need to do in this world, how to, you know, identify, you know, the different shades of gray, because It's a lot of nuance, when it comes to what we see, what's in front of us. It's a lot of nuance to it, especially Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is just a Marxist organization. That's all it is. And so as you can see here, this is the statistics for the number of people shot to death by the police in the United States from the year 2017 to 2021. So over the course of 4 and some change, you've seen whites get killed 457 to blacks 223. 2018, 399 to blacks 209. 2019, 370 to 235, so on and so forth. Right? So it just goes to show you that the problem is not police brutality. It's part of the problem, of course, but it's not police brutality. It's about us. It's intraracial. You got East Indians that come out and open convenience stores in our so-called communities. You got Arabs that open corner stores. Chinaman come open up a Chinese restaurant, so on and so forth. And all we do is give them our money. We make them rich. But we can never say, hey, let us establish a business in their communities and see what happens. They shut that shit down faster than you walk across the goddamn street. So it's important for us to understand that it's all about money, commerce. You don't see the fucking Asians on here like that. And even if you was to see it, because this is not giving you all races, but the Asians, I'm sure they turn out with the lowest when it comes to the mortality rate, because they make up the most per capita. That's why they don't care about voting and shit like that. Only we care about dumb shit like that. Voting and, who's the next president, investing ourselves in these fucking politicians who are just entertainers, talking out of two sides of their goddamn fucking mouth. And we care about what they got to say and what they supposed to be doing for us. Our people are so fucking lost in this world. When I'm speaking like this, I speak out of love. You got to show tough love to your people. Our fucking people are so lost. We need help. Spiritually, we need fucking help because we're gone. We at the level of a fucking adolescent. Just like the brother Chronicles of Judas said, we definitely at the level of an adolescent. We like children. That's why we're under the matriarchy, because women are like children. And there's no disrespect. I'm not disrespecting the woman. There's beautiful women out there. It's just that when it comes to their mindset, they think on the level of a child. I'm not saying that they are children, that they immature, they stupid or anything like that. But for the most part, they're illogical and irrational, and they dominated by their emotions. And that's what you see with children and most of these dudes out here. Dominated by their goddamn emotions. Whether it be boredom. They could be bored. Because women, they hate to be bored. And what do they do when they bored? Chaos ensues. What do women tell you why they do shit that they do when it comes to the stupid shit they do? I was bored. A lot of niggas, they just bored. Because there's no guidance. There's no advent of male guidance. Real male guidance. Structure. A strong male guidance. That's not here. We don't have that. That's part of the problem, man. We're being taught too much shit based off of the woman. The woman is a receiver. That's why she has a pussy. She has a genitalia that goes inside because she's a receiver. When men have a penis. The reason why we have a penis is because we are admitters. The Most High gave us the staff. The Most High gave us a rod because we give, we admit. We're problem solvers. The woman is a receiver. That's why you have sex with a woman, you penetrate her. She receives. You ejaculate in her. She receives your sperm and gestates it and delivers. The woman is a receiver. The man is an admitter. We have to assume our roles in order for us to be, in order for us to be more harmonious. I'm not trying to go on a digression, but sometimes I get caught up because these things, they just, it's always on my mind. The ills of this world, the ills of our society. We are fucked up as a people, y'all. We fucked up. We really fucked up. But I just wanted to go on to something else real quick. Okay, so I just wanted to read up on this article in regards to Marxism and, the Black Lives Matter movement's allegiance with Marxism. So it says, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors said in a newly surfaced video from 2015 that she and her fellow organizers are trained Marxists, making clear their movement's ideological foundation according to a report. Now, Marxism is basically an outline that was founded by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. And the manifesto, known as the Communist Manifesto, was an outline that was based in deprivatization of, certain companies, certain businesses, certain owners, basically the dictator, basically the person that's able to create and make money for himself, or, someone who's in a field of occupation where they're making money for themselves, and taken away from, the owner and given to the proletariat so it can be an equal playing field. And what that is communism. That's basically what that is. That's communism. You know what I mean? And that goes into, an understanding of how the financial system in regards to the economy is, is basically spiraling because of how this society was built off of communism and Marxism, and not a real, system that's based in it being fruitful for everyone. You know what I mean? We live in a world where the debt system is used to basically subjugate you monetarily. That's basically what it is. Cullors, 36, was a protege of Eric Mann, former agitator of the Weather Underground domestic terror organization, and spent years absorbing the Marxist-Leninist ideology that shaped her worldview, Breitbart News reported. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers, she said, referring to BLM co-founder Alicia Garza. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. And I think that we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many black folk, Cullors added in an interview with Jared Ball of the Real News Network. And this, this is meant to lead us on a pathway of destruction, especially when you understand what it's really about when it comes to just the mission statement on a website. Not even talking about the allegiances, but if you look at their website, I'm not sure if they took it down or whatever, but I think it was reported that they took some of their allegiances down because it was people noticing it. They was kind of like in hot water. But the mission statement said that they only for the women and the empowerment of homos. They wanted to take away the patriarchy and they wanted to, maintain the establishment of the matriarchy. It had nothing to do with no sort of real problems in the so-called black community. All they did was, they wanted to make an attempt to make it more worse for us by promoting that shit. Support the so-called lesbian and homo and queer and shit. That's what it said in the website. That's not black people, man. That's not us. I mean, you have people like that in our community, but that's not us, man. That's not of us. That's destructive. And anything that's governed by the so-called liberal woman is going to be fucking destructive. I don't give a fuck what it is, and I don't care who don't like that. It's just the fucking truth. All right? Anything that's governed by the liberal woman, I'm saying, is going to be destructive because a woman needs to be guided. Like I said, a woman is a receiver. She receives. She is meant to receive. She is not meant to lead. A man is a leader. A man is an admitter. She has a genitalia that goes inward. That's why when you penetrate her, you're going inside of her. I'm just being real. So we have to understand things in context, put things in proper perspective. If you can't respect that, your whole perspective is whack. But shalom, y'all. Thank y'all. Peace.